Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Not a Sheep podcast. My name's Narwhal. I'm here with Matt.
What's up, guys?
Matt, 2020 has been a pretty crazy year for music.
It has been really
in
weird.
every single aspect.
Yeah.
Obviously, the pandemic has led to a lot of really great music.
Yeah, I think it has been.
It's changed the game in a lot of ways. A lot more people have been streaming and doing virtual concerts.
Yeah, people have to find new creative outlets this way.
Yeah. Do you feel like throughout 2020 as a fan of music, not as a producer or rapper, but as a fan of music, has your listening changed at all, or have you just the way you experience music, has it been different?
Yes, definitely, because like you said, streaming. I've known about Twitch since like middle school because I had like friends that would watch it, but like then in recent years, people outside of gaming started getting into it. But like it wasn't until like a few months ago where I actually found myself watching people's streams and like getting into
like
it,
actively
and
going out of
keeping
your
up
way.
with like their community. You know what I mean? And having notifications on. Like before, I would like watch a YouTube video of a stream and be like, "That's cool. Maybe sometime I'll check it out."
Yeah.
But like now, I'm kind of like diving into the Twitch world and trying to understand like that community.
Yeah. Who are you usually watching? Like, is it just usually producers?
Yeah, for me so far, the only two I've been able to like keep up with, I guess, because it's a whole new world, is like Kenny Beats and Illmind.
Yeah.
And like they pretty much just make beats, but like Kenny has like been doing super dope stuff. Where like the last stream I watched, they put out his fan base on like his Discord. Like he has a Discord where producers, singers, rappers, anyone can go on and like collab with each other, and like through that they made this album. And I'm like, that's kind of crazy that like through his fan base, like he connected all these people and they just made this like super dope album.
Are there vocals, or it's all just
it's everything.
Okay.
And so like basically I think like 10 plus people worked on it. Like they had like producers assigned to each song, and then like artists assigned to each song.
Damn,
and
are they
mixers.
releasing that? Or
I know
is
they
it just
put it on
SoundCloud?
SoundCloud to like hear it, but like maybe they'll put it on streaming. But
It was all
cool.
original stuff.
Yeah, and there's like a couple. He's had two artists that before they started watching his streams never even made a song, and now they're like, one of them got signed, and like
That's crazy.
and they're both like super super talented.
That's crazy.
Mhm.
It's like, in a lot of ways, that could be kind of like Skillshare. You always see ads for it's like, oh, you know, I've seen Skillshare ads for like EDM producers. Who's the
Okay.
guy that wears like the big mouse head?
Oh, Deadmau5?
Is that his name?
I know Deadmau5 is one of them. I mean, I know you're not thinking of Marshmallow.
No,
but
like, but it's like Marshmallow, but it's like a mouse.
I think
it's
it
like
is
a
Deadmau5.
silver head.
Yeah.
That guy has like Skillshare courses on like making
Right,
EDM
I've seen
beats.
those ads, yeah.
But
it's so interactive because like he like remembers certain like fans and stuff like that. Like someone will donate like some subscribers or whatever, and he'll be like, oh, like shout out to that person, we played your beat the other day, it was super dope. And like he'll do these beat battles every week where he'll like put up a sample, everyone has like an hour to go make a beat with it, and then he'll bring in like Isaiah Rashad or like some big artist to like listen with him,
like virtually, or they're there in person.
Either. He's done
okay.
both. But like, or like Mike Dean, like one of the most successful producers of all time, to like hear these kids' beats they made and like
does he tear them apart, or is he?
Sometimes Kenny is more forgiving, but like I think Russ came on one time and was like destroying this kid, and he was just like, yeah, this beat just sounds like what did he say? Oh no, this was on Illmind's stream, but he brought Russ on and he was just like, oh yeah, this one just sounds like a headache and a heart attack. And then Illmind was like, nah, like he was on last week and he was super dope, because Illmind's like super super positive.
Yeah, that's hilarious. Well, you met Illmind. Did you feel like he was giving like fake confidence to
that's
you,
the
to
thing.
people?
Well, I wouldn't say fake, but like when I met him, like everyone played beats. Like that's how the thing worked past the aux. Like everyone plays a beat, goes around, or a song, and we went around twice. And I was like super nervous going into it. I'm like, I'm a nobody. I make beats in my room and I'm going to play for Illmind. Like what's going to happen? And then I realized a lot of these guys are just like me. That doesn't mean they're not dope. Like some of them are super dope, like Timothy and Keezy.
Yeah.
But he was just so like, because there's a difference between telling someone they're good when they're not, and like also like, because he's a producer, he knows like what's like how to pick the best of something and like really show that. And he gave a lot of really good advice, which is like the way to do it.
Yeah, no, that's what's awesome. Like when you watch these streams of these producers, do you feel like, does it feel like like you're watching it for entertainment purpose, or do you feel like you are actively learning, or is it a little of both?
It's definitely both. And it's more like the entertainment of it is in a way like valuable because it's like I'd rather go fill my brain up with that for entertainment than like rewatching The Office for the millionth time, because then I'm like getting inspiration for music while also
Michael
being
Scott can inspire you too,
That's
Matt.
a good point, but I just finished rewatching it like the series all the way through the other day because it's going off Netflix.
Yeah.
I'm sad.
How many times do you think you've watched through it?
I mean, there's probably certain episodes I've seen more than others, but like I think it's like 10 plus, bro. It's a lot.
God,
it's like every year I go through it like at least once. Like, but yeah.
Wow, that is dedication. You probably know more lines than Kyle and Shim and
maybe. I have a friend who like if you watch it with him, he'll like say it along, and I'm like
every episode.
Yeah, and I'm like it'll be kind of funny at first, but then I'm just like, dude, I'm trying to watch. Like,
but 2020 has been a very crazy year. What have you done in 2020? Because basically we want this episode just to be a recap to talk about what we've listened to, but also what we've done. So for you musically, what has changed? What's been released?
Well, it's just weird to think about, like if you go to like January, like where I was then versus now. It's like in February I did my first like show, and it wasn't really like a show, like I wasn't selling tickets or anything, but it was the first time I was able to do a set of my own songs.
Yeah, and you performed in front of people.
Right, and so that was like a really cool experience, and like I remember that being like the biggest deal ever to me when I did that. And then like I was just experimenting with music for the first few months, and then I did the KSI contest, and that kind of like...
What month was that?
I rapped about COVID. So
okay. Oh yeah.
It must have been like April or March.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Dang, that feels like really long ago.
It was a long time ago, but it was during the pandemic, I guess. But
and that did pretty well, that first challenge.
Yeah, that was the first time I had a video like get any type of views, and even though it didn't like make the competition, it was also around the time of my brother's like TikTok's taken off, and so I got really into like doing research on how videos go viral and get views, and that kind of opened up my eye to like marketing and stuff. And then when I did the futuristic challenges, it was like, oh, I feel like I'm ready for this now, and kind of entered that world. And since then I've met so many like dope artists from that. Yeah.
Do you think that some of the artists you met and connected with in 2020 you'll like work with in the future on different things?
Yeah, I already got like a couple songs that are just like I'm waiting to like put on the right projects that with artists I've met from. One of them I met through the futuristic, one of them I met through the Andy Mineo contest, and it's like it's kind of cool that I've like sort of entered those worlds, but I don't want to be like just someone else in that world. I kind of want to just take from whatever and build my own thing.
Yeah, for sure. Well, one thing that Matt and I thought would be fun for this episode is actually a recommendation from one of you guys listening. So thank you for that. Follow us on Instagram at NAS Podcast and DM us if you guys ever have artists you want us to interview or just ideas for different topics or segments or whatever. But one thing that we thought would be cool is to go through our like Wrapped.
And I think it's going to describe us pretty well.
So there's like Spotify does the Wrapped every year, which I'm sure all of you know. But Apple Music does it as well, where it just basically it stalks you all year long and sees exactly what you've been listening to, the genres, the minutes, and everything. So how do we want to do this?
So mine, I have like, I'm on Apple Music, so I can see my top artists, how many hours I put into them. I can see my top albums, how many times I played them, and I can see my top songs and how many times I played those.
Damn, so you got
mine's like really in depth. But what does yours look like?
First, let's go through. Well, so it gives you top 5 artists, your top 5 songs, your top genre. So that's cool. Spotify has a thing called On Record, where basically it accompanies each of your like some of your top songs along with a like podcast or something that features that artist on it. So for example, it like one of the songs was That Way by Lil Uzi, which I don't really like know why, but I guess I liked I remember liking that for a couple months. So it's like it accompanies each song with like a podcast or something. So then there's like it's called It's the Real Classic with Lil Uzi Vert, and it's like a 1 hour 2 minute conversation. Then there's like a Nav song with like a podcast with him, and then like a Big Sean interview. So that's, I don't know, I think that's pretty cool.
That'd be sick because like one of my artists on here was on our podcast. If we see like Nas
yeah.
show up on there, that'd be dope.
Yeah. Spotify also has missed hits, so it's the top songs from 2020 that we know you won't want to miss. Oh, so this isn't even necessarily that I, but based on my listening habits, songs that like they think I would like, which is really interesting because a lot of these I haven't even heard of, but I see already like Freddie Gibbs, Shy Glizzy, don't know who that is.
Glizzy.
Wow, they Hobson.
They just think I'm throwback. They're like, we know deep down you still like Hobson.
Yeah, they're like 5 years ago you were a huge Hobson fan. But yeah, so do we want to let's just go through like our top artists and talk about those, and then we can talk about songs specifically.
Okay, should we start like high to low or low to high? Which should we start with?
Well, how many does yours have?
Mine has a lot. I'm assuming yours probably only
just
has
have
like
top
5. Okay, should we go 5 to 1?
Sure, yeah. Who is your 5th most listened to artist this year?
Oh gosh, I shouldn't have picked 5. Logic.
Let's go.
So
Matt's a Logic
stan. Let me explain. So when I was younger, we were both Logic fans. Like, I'm not ashamed to say that.
Everyone was a Logic fan.
Of his new music, like obviously anyone, even if you don't like Logic, you would agree that his newer music is not as good as his older music. But I really liked his project from last year, Supermarket, and so that's kind of one that stuck with me. And then
that's like the summer vibe singing one.
Yeah, and now I think it's cool.
Bro, I thought that was fire.
Yeah, I agree. And
people just like shit on that album when it first came out. Some of just the people that I've seen in that community. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But I think it's because people went into that expecting like a Logic album, and they got like a singing.
No, but the thing was,
album.
he was, because I really kept up with Logic. He was talking about that album for years and was like, you could tell he was about to do some like singer songwriter stuff. So it didn't really surprise me.
Yeah, I think it's really good that like people should definitely give it a chance.
No, yeah, but that wasn't the reason he made my top. That and his new album, No Pressure, kind of like it sort of brought me back into like. It was more of like, it's not that I think that's like an album of the year. It was sort of that like, it brings me back to like 9th grade being like big on Logic kind of feel.
Yeah. Okay. It was funny. As soon as I said, who's your 5th? You're like, oh God. My 5th most listened to this year was Big Sean.
Okay.
And I'm pretty confident almost all of that is because of his most recent album, Detroit 2.
Yeah.
He also is featured on like one of Jack Harlow's new songs, which has been on repeat the last couple days. So I honestly don't know. I think a few weeks ago, I don't even know if he was my 5th one, but I think he just
changed. Yeah.
Just made the list. But
mine's moved around a little bit too in the last couple weeks.
Yeah, I think Detroit 2 is probably my favorite album of the year. Mm-hmm. Definitely top 3. But we'll talk about that in a little bit.
Big Sean's, I think he's one of my favorite artists that like didn't make my list this year, where it's like I like Detroit 2, but it wasn't like, I don't know, for some reason it didn't hit me as well. Like I really liked I Decided, and that's like one of my all-time favorite albums. But
yeah, Big Sean is like, he's always been superstar level, but he's one of those guys that he's always just like under the radar in a way.
Right. It's like he's like as like he's from the same age as like, I don't know, like J. Cole and like Kendrick, but he's not in there, not even really close to being in their like level of like talked about in like rap music.
Yeah, but I think in terms of like
fame,
skill and fame, like skill wise, I think he's respected at the same amount.
Exactly.
He's just not talked about the same amount, which is kind of weird.
Yeah.
All right, who's your number 4?
Okay. Adrian Stresso.
Let's go.
So that one was cool, and even he was I think my number 1 last year. And that was because his album, like I had that on repeat all year. But this year he didn't even drop an album. He had a short like EP.
Yeah.
But I'm sure he would be higher up if he had an album. Like he just dropped a lot of dope singles. So it was cool to see him there, and it's cool that it's an artist we've actually talked to on the podcast.
Yeah, it'd be cool to see in, I don't know, couple years from now, if like, you know, you'll keep getting better and he will too. I would love to see you guys work on a song together at some point.
That'd be dope. I think it'll be cool to see like where he goes from here, because I mean, it's only going up, and I think he's got a lot of potential because he's kind of shown versatility and like different sounds he can really like put through his music.
Yeah. Do you feel like, are there certain artists that you enjoy that, you know, like I like them, but I wouldn't be a good sound with them? And then are there other artists where you're like, damn, like they complement my sound really well?
Well, that's the thing. I honestly don't really know what my sound is yet. So like, I mean, there are artists where I'm like, I couldn't see myself making a song with them, but like
who?
But well, maybe that's more like artists I don't really listen to,
like Polo G. Or
yeah, someone like that, where it's like I don't know if like our styles would complement each other, but like there's also guys where it's like when I hear that, sometimes it'll like inspire me, and I'll be like at the beginning of the year, I was like, dang, like I really like Arizona Zervis and like more of like pop vibes, but like I don't know how I could fit into that, and like I took like most of the first half of the year of like trying to figure out how I can make myself more versatile, and that's like what inspires me to like, and then through that, like Black Bear became one of my favorite artists. But yeah.
Okay, so you got Logic and then Adrian Stresso. My
top 5.
My number 4. I'm kind of my next 3 I'm not the most proud of, guys. My next one is Nav.
Man, we know what we're talking about in this music stuff, guys.
Yeah. Now, listen, Nav is cool, all right? He's a fun artist.
Yeah.
I get that no one is ever going to look at Nav and say, you know, he changed the music scene. He made the world a better place with his music. But that's not why I listen to him, you know?
Yeah.
So, like, I don't know. I hate the bullshit when it's like, oh, like, you listen to fucking, what's the
Russ,
guy?
I don't know. Any of those guys?
The guy, Playboy Cardi.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, yeah, Playboy Cardi's not the most talented, but I don't care.
Right.
Like, sometimes I just want to listen to Playboy Cardi.
Exactly. It's not the same. It's a different feeling you get.
Yeah. And so Nav, I don't know. For me, I just like working out to his music. I will say a lot of his songs sound the exact same, in my opinion, but that's cool with me. And I like some of the features. It just is good workout music. So that's that.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I like Uzi, but I haven't gotten into Cardi, but maybe I'll like him if I check him out.
Yeah. All right. Who's your third, Matt?
Okay. Number 3. So these are all kind of surprising, but Futuristic.
Oh, okay.
And the beginning of the year in like February, I like went back and kind of like re-listened through his like discography a little bit and realized there's a couple albums that I hadn't really heard that I was like sleeping on, like the Zachary Lewis one from last year. I realized like that's like there's a lot of really cool songs on there, and that kind of made me go through like his whole discography. And then like I didn't really talk about this, but like that same month he like put up a thing saying like, hey, producers, like send beats to this email. And so I like sent a bunch of beats to his email, and like I was surprised, like, because his manager like messaged me back saying like, these are really cool, like we're gonna send these out to his label, I really like these, hopefully he will too, and maybe you can get a placement. And I was so convinced I was getting a Futuristic placement, and then nothing ever happened. But because of that, I got like really into Futuristic because I was like so excited.
Because you're like, dang, if his manager thought these were dope, like
right, like maybe he will too, and maybe like who knows, like I'll be on the next Futuristic album. And then so I got super into his music like right like in the spring, and he was like one of the only like rappers I was listening to at the time. And then the challenges came up, and obviously like
you're gonna listen to him more,
right? And I was like really excited for those too, so like because of like how much of a fan of his I was. So he was my top 3 artist. That was the first time I think he's made my top list like ever.
Yeah. Is emailing people's managers something that you could do regularly now, like, or is that something that's just not really an accepted norm, like kind of cold calling people, or just like a cold email, just like, hey, I'm a producer, here's like 9 beats I've made over the last few months that are fire? Like
I think artists look at it differently, because some guys are like willing, like I think Jerome said, like he's like, anyone can send me beats, like I'm open to it, if the beat's dope, like I don't care who you are, like let's work on it. But and I think the reason bigger artists have managers is so they don't have to deal with as many like crappy
so they can
artists.
Weed out all
they
the
can
bullshit.
weed it out, and it's like that's that person's job to go through it. So I think they're more likely to be encouraging of it.
Yeah.
Obviously they would rather only good artists and producers send them stuff, and they don't want to get like DMs and stuff like that. So
but have you ever done that, like, or do you think you ever will go out of your way and just find, like, if there's someone who you really like and you think you fit their sound, would you reach out and say, hey?
I've reached out. It's only like 1 or 2 times I've tried to do it for like a feature, because that's a little bit different, because that comes off as way more like like this is for me, like I need you to help me, versus like if I find a dope artist, if I send him a bunch of beats, it's more like I want to help you, like let's build together.
Yeah, that's kind of what I meant.
Yeah, even though like if I got a futuristic placement, it would do more for me than it would for him.
Yeah.
But it's mutually beneficial, and that's like how I think business should be conducted.
Yeah.
It's like mutual benefits, but yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Cool. Well, my
number 3.
I hate me. I hate myself because I take pride in like I like to think that I have like
that you're into music.
That I'm into music, but all my tastes are just other than my 5th and my number 1. I'm not the most proud. Number 3 is DaBaby.
DaBaby. Let's go.
Let's go. Yeah.
It could be worse than that.
I mean, it could, but it's just like it doesn't help my cause because DaBaby, it's like he's a perfect example of an artist. I was listening to Baby like 2 years before he was even cool. So it sucks because now DaBaby went from being like a cool artist that I was trying to get people to listen to,
right?
And then everyone started listening to him, and now he's like almost borderline corny now.
That's kind of a good point. I feel like you've put me onto a lot of artists, or like at least put them on my radar years before like you ever hear of them blowing up. Like I remember talked about Russ in like 2015. You talked about Jack Harlow like years ago.
And like Lil Baby and Gunna. I was listening to them like 4 years ago.
Yeah.
And now they're both huge.
Dang, a lot of the artists that I've like seen come up have like come close or like have gotten the corny label, which is kind of sad.
That's the thing is like I get some of the criticism to DaBaby, sure, like yeah, maybe some of his stuff sounds similar, but I mean you could say that about a lot of artists.
Yeah, you definitely could.
Like very few rappers are talented enough to always be changing their sound.
Also, I think he dropped like 3 projects this year, so it's like with that amount of just releasing, you're like bound to run into similar sounding stuff.
Yeah. So I don't know, but I think DaBaby's really talented. Obviously his like, what was his big one with Bop and all that? What's that album called?
I don't know to be honest,
because I think it's called Kirk,
and then there was the one with like Suge, which was the one before that. Was that Baby on Baby? Yeah.
So there's Baby on Baby, and then there was Kirk, and I think Kirk is like front to back a really fun project. But then I think the reason he made my list is because probably just a month ago his brother died.
Oh, really?
And he dropped a 8-song album, I guess. But like it's pretty crazy. Like his brother died, and within a week he dropped this project, and it was just like. It's a pretty powerful project because you can just hear it in his voice, like the sadness and like, I mean, it's crazy because he had features from a bunch of different people, and I just don't. Maybe some of those songs were already made, but there was at least 3 or 4 of those songs that were specifically about his brother.
Jeez.
And it was just really a strange time because I remember his brother died, and it was on social media and stuff. But then this project came out, and he dropped like a music video for the song about his brother and all this. So he was like, within a couple weeks of this shit happening, he still was putting out a bunch of music.
That's crazy.
So yeah, I don't know. Maybe that's just how some people like cope with stuff. Like if you're an artist,
just work.
And if you like making music, I'm sure it's gonna.
I mean, there's worse ways to cope.
Yeah,
that's for sure. But yeah.
So. I think that's wise. I was listening to a lot of that project, especially this time of year, because like a couple years ago, one of my buddies passed away. So like, it's a fitting project to listen to.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah. So who's your number 2, Matt?
My number 2.
Who's your runner up?
Okay. So this is one of the only ones that I think is somewhat respectable in my top 5. Not that the guys aren't respectable, but ones that
Matt Mogg. Matt Mogg is his number 2.
It's Drake. That'd be funny.
And Matt goes, yeah, so my number 1 is myself.
But Drake, I got really so when Drake dropped his album, that was like first half of the year, I think. I liked the album, listened to it like quite a bit.
What's the name of this one?
The Dark Lanes demo tape, that one.
Yeah.
I thought it was really cool. A bunch of songs on there I liked, but Drake's also one of those guys where even when I might not be super into him, he's kind of just like, like Drake has some of the biggest songs ever. Like I'll just play his music like every once in a while without even really realizing like I've been listening to him. And then like last month, like for like 2 months, he was like the only rapper I was like really listening to, and I put so many hours into listening to him.
How come? What sparked this?
I don't know. I think I went back, and one of my favorite albums of all time is If You're Reading This, It's Too Late, and I really like the first half of it, and like the second half I haven't really. It's a pretty long album. It's like 20 songs. It's like I wasn't as in depth on the second half, and I kind of like was like, I'm only going to listen to the second half and see if I find some stuff that I haven't really gotten into before. And then I just realized how great of a project it is all the way through. And then I kind of just did that with this whole like discography, just went through all of his albums. But yeah.
Was there any, nuggets of gold or hidden things or things you learned about him or his music that you missed that you just recently learned when you did this deep dive?
Well, it might be because I'm just becoming a bigger fan of his, but like I'm just starting to realize a lot of the hate people put on him. Like I'm starting to not understand it as much because I don't know. He seems like a really genuine guy, even though he comes off as like a douchey celebrity. Yeah. But like he seems like a cool guy, and it's I really like his music. I don't know. What was I gonna say? I feel like I learned a lot about like not simplicity in music, but like especially from his production, because some of his producers are like my all-time favorite producers, like Boy Wonder. He's super dope. And I feel like I've learned the most about making beats from him, and because he has a very like distinct style and like
from his producer.
Yeah, just from his producer. And so like seeing how he always says when it comes to making beats, it's sort of like you're making the canvas for the artist to paint on. So if you make this canvas with all this stuff on it going on, like the artist doesn't have anywhere to like put their work. So you're kind of just leaving it open for them to like really make a great song over. And so that kind of stuck with me through the year of like, I'm making these beats that are so like complicated and so many sounds, like where am I gonna, and then if I try to do anything somewhat complicated over it, it's gonna sound like a mess.
That's super cool. That's a really interesting point that like, that you can be really talented, but you could also like there's a balance between using your talent to make something good and accidentally making something too much,
right?
Or like like overcomplicating things or making things too messy, because you see that in everything. You can see that in movies as an editor, a video editor. I can watch a movie and it's like sometimes it's over edited, and it's not that like the editor's not good.
Think of like an action scene in like 2014 where it's like in a movie where there's just like 50 cuts in like 8 seconds. Bro. It's like, what just happened?
Dude, there's this very famous scene. I wish I could remember the movie, and it's with some famous. Oh, it's Liam Neeson. I think it's in like Taken 3, which is like religiously shit on as like a terrible movie. I think, but there's this scene, and it's famous because there's like 29 cuts in like 30 seconds or something. Or like even maybe in like 10 seconds or something.
Yeah.
But there's people who break down the scene, and every like few frames there's a different angle.
Cut. And you're like,
and I don't know. Would you agree that in music there's similar scenarios where there's a producer that could be really damn good, but they just do too much and it ruins it?
Right. And it's like I'm nowhere, like I know so many people in my life, just not even from music, just from life, that are so far like musically like miles ahead of me. Like they know exactly what they're doing. They know all this music theory. They're super talented on guitar or piano, but like they kind of make beats on the side. And it's like the thing that I understand that they don't is like sometimes you just need 2 sounds and some drums, and like that's how you make a beat. Or like I've had people that like are super musically talented, like they're like, I want to make a beat for you, and they'll send it to me, and there's just like a million different melodies going on, and I'm like, this is really like musically this is like really good, because there's so much crazy chords going on and stuff like that, but I'm like, I don't know where I can exist in that, you know.
No, that's super interesting. And I think that's probably a tough balance for people, is like, because the first step is to learn the skill set, but then on top of that, it's like implementing it into the real world. Yeah.
And I think the reason I found that kind of concept interesting is because what Boy Wonder was saying is like the first time he started working with Drake, he'd like play him a beat and he'd be like, wait, pull that up real quick. And he'd like, take that sound out, take that sound out, take that sound out. And it was just like one sound with drums. And he's like, this is so like plain. Why do you like this? And he's like, no, trust me. And then they'd like make a song and it'd be like Marvin's Room, like a really big smash hit.
That's, bro, I just got goosebumps because I just remembered that reminded me of, I've seen So there's this famous like videographer in the music scene named Rory Kramer, and he's gone on tour with like Justin Bieber and the Chainsmokers. He's like the main guy for the Chainsmokers, and he does a lot of their videos and stuff. But anyways, he worked with Kanye on a music video back in the day. I don't know what video it was for, but this Rory guy posted this story about him and Kanye, and he filmed this video for Kanye, and he showed it to him, and Kanye was like, dude, like, listen, that is amazing, but he's like, it's too good. And the guy didn't get it, and Kanye was like, Kanye taught Rory that there's times in art when you don't want it to be perfect because it takes away from it. And he explained to Rory, like, in some of my music, you need it to feel more raw. And he's like, and so he had him remake the video and made it like with handheld cameras, like VHS tapes and stuff like that. And he said that for the rest of his career, he's always remembered what Kanye taught him, that like, just because you can make something really beautiful doesn't make it the vibe that you want. You know?
Right. Dude, that's crazy. Cause like I saw just this morning it was some random like content creator, but he was like, I used to like make all my videos on Instagram with like this super nice camera, and it was like really good. But then I started making it on like my iPhone. They did way better. And I was like, I think it's because people watch it and they feel like, oh, I could make something like this. And it's like inspiring versus like watching the most amazing thing ever, and you're like, I could never do something like that, so I'm not even gonna try. And so it's like it almost inspires the audience in a different way.
And you relate more to, because you subconsciously even you can just tell like that's not an iPhone, like he didn't film that on his phone, that's on like a fancy camera. And I agree, like I'll see clips on Instagram and I'm like, damn, that's like a really high end filmed with a nice camera, but it takes you out of it kind of.
Right.
You don't connect with it in the same way. So that's super interesting. I never thought about that, but with like producers.
So number 2.
Okay. I hate myself. My second most listened to artist of 2020 was Lil Uzi. Now that's mainly.
I respect that.
Yeah, I mean, it's like none of these artists. I'm kind of joking when I say I'm ashamed. Like I think they're.
Oh, me too.
They're great artists, but it's mainly because he dropped Eternal a Take.
Yeah, Eternal a Take.
A talk? Is it a take?
I'm pretty sure it's a take. I don't know.
I don't even know.
I heard
what
a lot
means.
of people saying Atake, but I don't think that makes sense. I think it's a take.
Eternal a Take, and
because I think they say that on the album.
Yeah, so he dropped that, and then he also had dropped like the deluxe version as well.
You're right. And
then he also had the song That Way, which, like I mentioned earlier, was one of my biggest ones. And I mainly liked That Way because it's like sampled from an older song.
Yeah.
I forget what the other.
I Want It That Way.
Yeah.
Whatever that song's called.
Yeah, whatever that song's called.
We don't know anything about music.
But yeah, and so when I first heard the Lil Uzi one, it just brought back a lot of nostalgia from the original song. So I listened to that for a while, and I think just obviously him dropping his deluxe album, like that's a whole lot of songs to just listen through. Right. And I'm kind of similar to you where I'll kind of go for a week. I'll listen to someone's album, just one album for a week until I get sick of it, and then I'll move on to something else. So
yeah, that's definitely why mine is so like surprising to me. Not surprising, but like it's because I go through phases, and my number one artist is Black Bear, an artist that I didn't even like. I couldn't name one song of before February of this year. Damn. I think I'd heard Do Re Mi, and that was it. And I had heard the song like Hot Girl Bummer, but like I wouldn't have known that was a Black Bear song. Yeah. And then to be honest, I don't even remember why. I think it was I heard a song he was featured on with like Kyle. I'm like, that's cool. And then I like checked out another one and really liked it. And then like a few months later, then I listened to his album from last year, really liked that one. And then he put out his album this year, and I somehow put over, how many hours did I put into Black Bear? 104.
104
That's a long time.
Into Black Bear?
That's so sad.
No, that's cool.
And his music is all really sad too.
Yeah, so did you think before, did you kind of view Black Bear as just your stereotypical like pop artist?
I did not like him because I think I had heard Do Re Mi, and I actually also heard, my brother showed me the Short Kings song or whatever, the one with the YouTubers.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, this guy's a joke. Like he's not good. And I was like, he's kind of cringy. Like, I don't like the way he like acts and stuff like that. Like, he's definitely like, I can never listen to an artist like that. And then I found a song I liked, found that he was on it, checked out his stuff. And then like just like that. Well, okay, so also the beginning of the year, I was like trying to open my taste more to pop music, and a big part of that was futuristic actually, because of his album like Zachary Lewis. Like that one had a lot of like singing on it, so I was like, I want to get into this more. So I started listening to like rap that had singing in it and stuff like that. So I'd listen to like Arizona Zervis and just slowly moved more to pop. But then I got into Black Bear, and that was kind of like the furthest that way I got of like really getting into it.
Yeah. What did you think of his album that came out this year? Did you like it?
I liked it. I wouldn't put it up there with like album of the year or anything like that, because I actually listened to his album from last year more than this year than I did the new one.
Yeah.
But though the new one had like my favorite song of the year, I would say.
Wait, what?
I Feel Bad. I don't know if you've heard that one, but
wait, that's from his
last
album.
This year.
Oh, okay.
That album, this one I had like more favorite songs from, but the one from like last year I'd say is like an all-around better album.
Okay, I feel you. So your favorite song of the year, not necessarily your most listened to song, but what
is my most listened to song of the year. But yeah, that's why I said it was my favorite.
It's called what?
I Feel Bad.
I Feel Bad.
Yeah.
Is it featuring anyone?
No, it's just him. But
Black Bear?
I think when we started this podcast, I don't even think I was listening to Black Bear yet. Because I think there was like a stretch of 4 episodes where you were like, what have you been listening to? And I'm like, still Black Bear.
Yeah.
And that was when those 104 hours started, I guess.
Wow. That's awesome, man. Yeah, no, I like Black Bear. I think he's super talented. And I also am happy you like him because
Mike Posner.
Because him and Mike Posner are a duo and have a group called Mansions.
It's like two sides of the coin.
Yeah. So I'm hoping that Mansions will release another thing sometime soon.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Speaking of Mike Posner, literally like 2 nights ago when we're recording this,
he dropped a project.
He dropped a new project. Very dramatic marketing. Like,
really?
He deleted all his Instagram posts, which, first of all, I don't know.
I'm not a fan of that.
I'm not really a fan when they do that, where they archive every post just to like.
Because if you're a new fan, like sometimes you want to like stalk them and like see what they did in years ago and like kind of see their progression.
Yeah, but Mike Posner, he a couple days ago, so he archived everything and then he's been hyping it up for like a week. But like, he did the thing where on Instagram they post like 3 pictures, but they connect.
When you go on their account,
yeah, and like, so basically he shaved his head bald and he's in like it looks like a straight jacket, like it's all white. There's like no color. It's just all white, and he's bald, and he's like laying on the floor. But then he has little like disclaimers, and he says, if you struggle with mental illness, depression, schizophrenia, do not listen to this album. And he says that in the intro. He's like, do not listen.
So he made an album for healthy-minded people.
I don't know, but that's
like that.
Well, no. So what he goes to say in his like intro, he's like, want to make it very clear that all the songs in this are fictional characters in fictional scenarios, not based on reality.
Right.
But, and I listened to that project, but I still don't really I don't know why he doesn't want people with schizophrenia to listen to it. Like, it's a weird kind of what's the term? Like a concept album, I guess.
Okay, yeah.
But I don't know. It seems weird to kind of polarize your fan base and say, hey, if you struggle with depression or like, don't listen to this.
I don't think he means that. I mean, maybe I could be wrong. I don't know Mike Posner. I don't know what he's doing.
But what do you think?
When I hear that, I think like it's probably an album that goes really deep on like dark places he's been. That's what it sounds like to me. And so it's like a warning of like, but I feel like, I don't know. It's not like Kid Cudi's going to say that before he drops like a really depressing project. Cause it's like, that's sometimes people need to hear that to hear how you get out of that. But I don't know. I haven't heard the project. So
no, I mean, I like it. I'm not saying it's not good. I don't know. There's times when I don't cringe, but I just get a little weary when people say stuff like that, because I think maybe that's used as like a marketing scheme.
Right.
Where it's
and
like,
almost comes off like gimmicky.
Yeah, it's like, don't listen to this if you like rap music.
So and that's like not Mike Posner. Like he does have like kind of, I'd say, an audience of like hip hop a little bit. Same way Black Bear does, even though they're both singers. Like they're not rappers at all. Like, but I just feel like, imagine if like J. Cole did that. Like it's just weird to think about like how much criticism someone like that would get if they like did a kind of a marketing thing like that, where they like shave their head and like make a big dramatic thing where they're like, don't listen to this if you whatever. It's just like kind of like, why don't you just let the music speak for yourself? Or for itself.
Yeah, that's an interesting. That is true. There's certain communities where it's like certain artists, I guess, where they let their music speak entirely for itself.
Yeah.
And those are the artists that you don't really hear from. They're not really big on social media, but then bam, they drop a project and it like changes everything.
Yeah.
But then there's other artists where like their music is only one part of
who they are,
them as an artist, and then there's a lot of other stuff on top of that.
Yeah, and I don't think there's necessarily one way that's better than another. This is me saying that about him is also coming from someone who hasn't heard the album, has only heard like 2 albums out of his whole discography. Yeah. Like I don't really know much about him, so that's what that was.
yeah. And I like it. I think it's great. So you guys should check it out. But anyways,
number 1.
My number 1, I am so happy, guys. Young Pinch. For 2 years in a row, guys.
2 years.
I've said it before and I'll say it again. He is and has been my favorite artist. Now, like, he's popular. Don't get me wrong. He has like, I don't know, 2 million monthly listeners or 3 million or something. But like, I really think he deserves more. Like Young Pinch, his name doesn't really do him justice because it's Y-U-N-G Pinch. So it's like, didn't even spell it right.
It's like an even more like young version of young. Like
yeah. And then also he just like, I don't know. I think people see him. He's a strange looking character. He's got his own persona. But I think people see that and they just, I think people throw him in the same group where they're like, oh, that's another like Playboy Cardi type character where it's like all the same. And it's really not. Like he's had a few songs with Black Bear, I think. But when I think of Black Bear, I also compare him to Young Pinch.
Okay.
I don't know. I just think you guys need to check him out. He's like a rapper, but I would say he's rap singer, both kind of.
Okay, yeah.
I don't know. That's all I can say is I've always loved his music, and every song he drops is just a banger for me. So
that's dope.
Yeah.
I have a I don't know if this is gonna work, but quick idea.
Yeah.
If we were to rattle off a 2020 like all-star lineup of like all of the guests we've had on the show, and we were to make like a little album of like stuff they've released, like on the spot, let's see if we can come up with what would that kind of look like if we were to take like a couple songs from one artist, couple songs from another. Like what would like a project like that kind of look like? We might need to pull our phones out to make sure we're not missing anything.
Like picking specific songs from a bunch of different artists that have been on the show.
They have to be NAS alumni.
Okay, maybe just off the dome even.
Yeah, off the dome.
Go through. Let's go through and
should we go artist by artist?
Yeah, let's just try and recommend 1 or 2 songs that the people listening, if they want to go listen to a song from this artist, like what would you just off the dome tell them to listen to?
Off the dome, I mean, Casman, Chasing the Dream's a great song. Hopefully by the time this is out, there'll be a song out but with me and her, but it probably won't be relevant anymore because it's a Christmas song. But,
okay.
Blue Lane. What's your favorite Blue Lane song we got?
I don't know. He hasn't dropped in a long time, so that's tough.
He put out some cool. Go on his Instagram because he's got some dope freestyles. You can kind of pick from those. Like he's got some dope like unreleased songs.
Who's our third
guest? Brendan Backus.
Brendan, I like I'm Sorry.
I'm Sorry is a good song.
That's probably my favorite song from him.
Let's see. Keezy's got so much music to choose from.
Keezy dropped a song a week
for a year. Yeah, freaking it's insane.
I mean, obviously there's the song with
Carol the Bells
with Keezy, Matt, and Casman.
But I gotta find it. There was one he had that I really liked. I think it was Pacers is super dope. But
it's called Pacers.
Yeah, he's got. If you go on his like Apple Music or Spotify, just go through it because there's so many good songs.
And it's under Keezy Baby.
Yeah,
right?
Keezy Baby. Timothy Salazar, his project Quarantine Beach. There's a lot of good songs on there, but I'm gonna pull it up.
And he's actually, since we interviewed him, he had like 100 monthly listeners, and now he's got like 9,000.
Yeah,
so that's
crazy.
Pretty cool.
Keep going up, bro. Some of the songs he had, The Beach, Surf. I think Surf was my favorite when I listened through it. Also,
fire.
Wish You Were Here was the single, which was super dope.
All right, who's next?
Not Alone. One of the albums of the year. I feel like we could of like the underground artists, like one of the greatest projects we've heard. Especially one of our favorite outside of rap projects.
Yeah, so they're called Not Alone. Their album was called Instead of Sleeping. Sirens is really good.
Yes, they have an interlude on the album that I was like a really big fan of. It's got a cool like vibe to it.
How do you pronounce that?
I don't know.
Chase,
I don't know how to pronounce your songs.
Swadade? I don't know what that word means.
Superman's dope. Sponsor Me is cool. And then they have their 2 singles that are super dope. Talk You Down and Angela. And Talk You Down's their song that went super viral when they first dropped it.
Yeah. All right, who's next?
Cade Leggett. So my favorite songs from Cade are songs me and Cade have been working on that haven't come out yet. So I can't mention those. But
do you have any idea when they'll come out?
I would hope first quarter of 2021.
Okay.
But I mean, there's kind of a lot that depends on that. But there's this one we got with this other artist. It's fire.
Okay. Cade also has a song called When Do I that I like.
Yeah, When Do I is dope. I like his remix he did for this other artist too, Sajin. That's super dope.
Okay.
This next one's tough because they dropped a lot of music. Who? But Levi and Channel 62. So they both Levi dropped.
It's Levi Hinson.
Multiple albums this year. Levi Hinson dropped a lot of music because he dropped. I'm pulling up his artist account because I don't want to miss any of the projects he did. He dropped Thanks for Nothing, which is like his most recent one that's on streaming, and then Laughing Crying he dropped early in the year, and he also produced an album for another artist that's super dope.
And then he has another.
They have another album they dropped together that's on. You have to. It was up for a little bit on their website you could buy, and now they're slowly I think releasing singles from it.
Oh, so it's not coming out yet as a full project.
And that one's with Channel. So and then together they also dropped Hinson 62, the EP, which is, in my opinion, that was my favorite of what I've heard from them.
Okay.
But it's all super dope. They all have different stuff, but
Moonfall's out. Oh, Moonfall's just a single.
I think it's from the album. I got the deluxe, but
wow. So
lot to choose from.
That's tough because there's a lot of music, but go check them out.
I'm gonna say Baby Blue. That's a banger, but it's a little different from the rest of his discography. But let's see,
who's next?
Adrian Stresso, the man himself. Dropped a lot of good music this year. He didn't drop any albums, but he dropped an EP, dropped a bunch of singles, couple of them with Justin Stone, just put out one with Jerome, our last guest. No Losses is super dope. I was playing it this morning. But what's your pick of Adrian Stresso 2020?
Probably Demons. No Losses, and then just a lot of his from his other projects.
Yeah.
What's the one, the snowy one? What's that one called?
It Could Be Worse. That's a classic.
I still really like that project.
I know he doesn't like his old music as much as his new stuff, but that one's got some classics for me.
Yeah.
I think No Losses is super dope. It just came out, so I really liked what was it on Vengeance and Better Off from the 22 EP were I think Better Off was my one in my top 10 for most listened to songs of the year, which is dope. But
all right, who's next?
J-Zack.
The
man himself.
I think my favorite, I already know, it's called Before the Ship Sinks.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the one I would recommend.
I really liked Move Away, the intro from his album. That one was cool because the whole project, it just kind of hits you right off the bat with raps. But shout out to J-Zack because that was a dope project. And then next we got the legend Kevin Hackett. Didn't drop any music this year. But we heard some inside songs.
Yeah, come on, Kevin. You said you were going to drop one before the new year. Where's it been, bro?
What if it came out before this podcast and we just look like idiots? But anyways, Kevin Hackett has in my book, a classic album from last year. Super dope. Youth. I guess if we're going to pick a favorite from Youth, I'm going to have to go with Cabin because that's a dope one. It's got Levi, it's got Drew, it's got the whole squad.
I'll go with Icarus.
That's a good song.
All right, who's next? Alexis Dawn.
So Alexis Dawn, I'm gonna have to go with Only You. It's super dope song, but she's got, she told us, a lot of big stuff coming. So I'd look out for what she's got.
Yeah, I would say Burn You just because that's her first her solo song by herself, which I think is really cool. So I'd recommend Burn You.
Next, we got man himself, Nick D. Nick D drops a lot of music, so he's definitely a cool artist to keep up with and see what he's got. But I really liked his album. What song was it? Fandango was dope. I really liked.
My favorite from him was a song called Trust Your Insides. It's not on that project, but it's really good. I recommend that.
That's dope. And then Abstract.
Dude, that's Abstract has been around for a hot minute, so that's tough because like a lot of his popular songs.
Yeah, I really
still
liked.
from, like,
I liked
years
his
ago.
more melodic songs from his project. It's all around a dope project. I liked. I know I liked Capsized. Obviously, I like the one with Futuristic because that's one of my top artists. But one of those two.
Yeah, I'd say Hyperventilating. It's featuring Ivan B, who I have a soft spot for because I filmed a music video for him.
Legend.
So yeah, go listen to that one. But all right, and then
Jerome
the Prince.
So I mean, you got no losses, but one of my favorites. Which one is it? I think it was the intro from his project. I like saying the reason I like J-Zach's intros. It just kind of hits you right off the bat.
Yeah,
like,
it's called
I'm gonna
Heartless
rap.
Now.
Yeah, so it's a dope project.
All right, there you have it, guys.
Maybe next year we'll like make an actual segment, not on the spot, of something similar to this, and we can like make a playlist and put it out of like our picks, but like
we could turn this into a playlist.
Oh yeah.
We'll make a. You know what? Yeah, you're right. We should add. We will create by the time this episode is out. We will have a NAS podcast.
We could do a Spotify and an Apple since we have both.
Yeah, and so you guys can follow the playlist, and we'll add songs as we go after we interview guests. We'll add our favorite ones from each guest, so you guys can kind of follow along. I think that'd be really cool. And then you guys could even give us recommendations for songs to add to the playlist, and then it'll be in our playlist. And then because it's in our playlist, we'll be like, yo, we should get you on our show because you're on our playlist.
Yeah, exactly.
Bada bing, bada boom.
Marketing.
All right, so we went through our top artists.
Yeah.
Wait, who was your number one?
Blackberry.
Oh, yeah. Okay, can't forget. All right, now let's do our top 5 songs real quick.
Okay.
And then we'll go through some honorable mentions and just people that stood out to us in 2020 for whatever reason.
Okay, well, so I'm just going to list my 5 real quick. So I'm going to go, it's all from Blackberry because like I said, I put a lot of hours into him, and I listen to albums at a time. So I Feel Bad. Gosh, this makes me look really bad. So I Feel Bad, Hot Girl Bummer, Me and Your Ghost, Swear to God, Hate My Guts, and Queen of Broken Hearts. So a few of those were like singles for his album. So like they were the only things he had out like at the moment.
Yeah.
So like that's why they were kind of on replay a lot.
I thought you didn't like Hot Girl Bummer.
No, I do.
Oh, what's the one you don't like? Do Re Mi?
No, it's not that I didn't. I mean, I kind of like it now, but like I didn't at the time. I the first introduction I had was like my friend made me watch like the music video for it, and I'm like, I wasn't like the song's bad. I was like, this guy's weird. I don't really like him. And then it's funny how things change.
Yeah. Cool. So Matt clearly is a Black Bear stan now.
This is what happens when you don't listen to playlists. When you only listen to like artists at a time.
And that's what happens when you sleep on an artist and then you finally give them a chance.
And they're good.
There's
probably a lot of other artists I'm doing that too.
Yeah. Another thing about these Wrapped things is like, do you have your total number of hour or minutes listen to music?
No, but I could add them up if I actually wait. I think I had a lot because my friend like Nathan, he was on our show, did the math. And it like doesn't even make sense, but apparently I've listened to 1,831 hours. And we like did the math, and that's like that's like 70% of the day or something crazy. Like,
dude, wait. Let me count.
Of like the day you're up.
So you had how many? 1,800 hours?
31 hours, yeah.
Oh, one.
Like, not that changes it that much.
1,831 times 60. That's 109,000. Well, no, that makes sense. My point was, I've seen people post these on social media, and they
some
just
of them don't listen to that much. Is that what you're gonna say?
No, I'm saying some people have absurd numbers of minutes and hours, and mine is 30,000, and yours is 109,000, which kind of makes sense because you're like way more into music, so I would assume you listen to more music than me. But that is over 3 times more.
Also, to be fair, like my day job is door dashing, and so like, and I'm not super big into podcasts. Like which is ironic, but I only listen to like a few. So
yeah,
I'll like listen to music for hours and hours at a time when I'm doing that. But
yeah, that makes sense.
I think I listened to, I compared the numbers. I think it was Casman or someone put their artist on their Instagram, and I noticed I put more hours in than they did, but they listened to like hundreds and hundreds of way like more artists than I did, because mine says I only listen to what's the number? I listened to 603 different artists, and they had like 20, like some crazy number. And
that's crazy.
Like,
you only listen to 600 people.
And that's because, but I put a lot of that just shows I'm really like, I like when I get into something, I'm really into that one thing, and I have a hard time like balancing it.
Yeah.
Like, because I don't listen to playlists.
Yeah, I'm the same way, not just with music, but I feel like you and I both, like when we get into something, it's like that's the only thing
going on.
Yeah. Okay, so my top 5 songs, number 5 is Something to Prove by Lil Baby, which is off of his album from this year.
Okay.
Which I also think I think this year he has proven that he's one of the best rappers in the world now.
He's definitely gained a lot of respect this year.
He's really talented. Then Level Up by I'm shocked when I saw this. It's by Burna Boy.
Okay.
And Keezy, I think, or someone we listened to told me to listen to them because they're like, I listen to a lot of UK rap. Mm-hmm. Or who was it?
I think Keezy.
Yeah, I think Keezy told me about Burna Boy.
Timothy, I think we might have mentioned.
And bro, this song Level Up by Burna Boy is just so fire. Like,
is it kind of that like Pop Smoke sort of style?
I don't really know. I'm not very familiar with Pop Smoke, so I don't want to sound like an idiot. But all I have to say is that song's amazing, and I had never listened to UK rap, and I'm very glad that project from Burna Boy was the first one I had because it's so good. Third song is called Good Day. I'm pretty sure it's by Ian Dior.
Oh, yeah.
Is that how you say that guy's name? Ian Dior. I don't know. I don't really know why. My second one is Big Fish by Ace Hood.
Big Fish.
I've always really respected, and Ace Hood is just always been around as like a really talented lyrical artist. And then Find My Way by DaBaby. Not really the most exciting top 5, but it is what it is.
Does yours tell you albums?
I shouldn't. I think it should, right?
I don't know, because on Apple Music, it's just like a way bigger page of like stuff. And I can also go back, and what's interesting is like I can go back to 2015 and see what my top songs were back then versus now. My music tastes are terrible. But I think if I listed my top artists like all the way through, like my top 20 or whatever it shows, I would gain a little bit more respect. But
just rattle them off real quick.
Okay, so I'll just go through quick. So Blackbear, Drake, Futuristic, Adrian Stresso, Logic, and then it goes J. Cole, Andy Mineo, Joyner Lucas, Devon Terrell, Kendrick Lamar, Arizona Zervis, Pink Sweats, Jid, Lecrae, John Bellion, Russ, Jack Harlow, Travis Scott, Jaden Smith. I don't know if that gains any more respect because there's a lot of like worse ones in there too. But I think it shows that I don't know. My albums, there's some, like one of my top albums on here is Dominic Fike's album, but him himself didn't even make my top artist.
Yeah.
So, because I was really only listening to that album.
Rattle off some of your top albums?
So the first two are Blackbear's most recent ones. So Anonymous from last year, Everything Means Nothing, and then Be Safe Out There by Adrian Stresso was my number 3, and that was his album from last year, which is kind of cool. Yeah. Then Zachary Lewis, the one I was talking about earlier, from Futuristic, and then What Could Possibly Go Wrong from Dominic Fike, then Digital Drug Lord by Blackbear.
Yeah.
Then I don't know how this made I guess I really like this album because No Pressure by Logic is my number 7. Then ADHD by Joyner Lucas is my 8. Views by Drake is my 9. And then one of the acoustic albums from Blackbear is my 10.
Okay.
So like literally like 4 or 5 of those were Blackbear. Yeah. So that just shows, that.
Yeah. I like acoustic albums. That's interesting that Joyner's older album was bigger this year than his, like you listen to his older one more than his newer one this year.
Well, it's been out more. I mean, I definitely listened to that one more than I listened to the most recent one, but like it's been out more, so it's just naturally going to have more listens, but
cool. Well, just off the dome, if I want to give some honorable mentions of just artists that I've either found this year or that I like a lot.
Well, okay. Well, first off, if I had to pick album of the year, I would definitely I would say The Weeknd, and that he didn't even make my list. And I don't know, like I'm surprised he didn't, because like I got really into that album like a few months ago, actually like really like playing it like every day kind of thing. And I think that's like without a doubt, like I'd say the best album of the year of just like music.
Just out of every genre.
Out of every genre, yeah. And then, like maybe it helps because The Weeknd's like a little bit grounded with like working with hip hop producers, and so like it's more attractive to me, and especially because I got more into like pop, and he's like R&B, so kind of like links well. But that's my pick for album of the year.
Even if you had to pick a rap album of the year, what are you picking?
To be honest, like there was a lot of like heavy hitters, but like the guys that like recently. Because I go through phases of artists. My current phase I'm on is Kendrick Lamar, and I'm just kind of disappointed that like Kendrick and J. Cole never dropped. I'm going to go with, maybe I'll regret this in like 10 seconds, but the Drake album, even though it was like a demo album, it wasn't really like a full fleshed out body of work, but I'm going to go with Drake's.
Okay. Dude, I'm going to get shit on for whatever I think is the top album of the year.
I mean, our choices we've put out so far are all
are
really
already
horrible.
Pretty bad anyway, so it can't get much worse. But also, I've said before, and I stand by it, screw the people who think that there's some hierarchy to
music
who listen
taste.
To better music. Like, fuck you. I don't care. I'm so glad you got me to listen to Aquemini.
Yeah.
Okay, if I had to pick an album of the year, I think I'd still have to stick with Big Sean's.
I thought you were going to say Aquemini, and I'm like, John, that didn't come out this year.
Aquemini! 2020 album of the year. Yeah, no, I think I'm sticking with Big Sean on that one.
Okay, yeah.
I also really liked Burna Boy's album, but I don't even know what it was called, sadly. But, okay, and then some honorable mentions. I rediscovered this guy named Josh A. this year.
Oh, yeah.
Who I listened to back in high school, then kind of like just forgot that he existed, and then I refound him. And he is kind of like, he's not a duo, but him and this guy named Jake Hill do a lot of projects together, but they also do their own songs. And I just wanted to shout them out because I think if any of you guys listening, obviously if you're listening to this show, you have at least somewhat similar music tastes. And I just highly recommend you go check out Josh A. and Jake Hill.
Yeah. Okay.
Do you have any honorable mentions?
Honorable mentions. So these are some of my like favorite, not just because they're like people we've come into contact with, but like I really like Hinson 62. Like that is like my favorite project from Levi or channel. My favorite, I really liked, I want to say the Not Alone album. I think that was like one of my favorite like non-rap albums, especially of like underground like people we'd listen to, and so like that was a great body of work, and so those are two I'd say for honorable mention.
Awesome. One more thing before we wrap it up here is I had a question for you.
Okay.
So Kid Cudi just released his Man on the Moon 3, which I've only listened through like half of it, and I know you haven't even got a chance to listen to it yet.
This podcast came out early, or we recorded this early.
Yeah, and it's not even, but what I'm about to say isn't even about his project itself. Okay. But do you think that in a way there's some psychology to like the music industry where Kid Cudi could have released that same exact project but named it something else other than Man on the Moon 3, and I feel like it would have been perceived worse. I think that if it was named just some random other album name with the exact same songs, people would be like, oh, this isn't the Kid Cudi we want. Like, we want the old Kid Cudi.
I agree. So I think there's that definitely makes sense, and I could see that happening. But I also think, like, not that he would do this, but, like, if J. Cole dropped 2014, I guess it would be 2024 Sills Drive, like, if he dropped, like, a sequel to that, or, like, Kendrick dropped Good Kid, Mad City 2.
Yeah.
Those are ones that would be so hard to follow up that, like, even if it was as good or maybe a little better, people would be like, no, it's not that good. Because, like, I think that's what happened with, because I personally think Damn is Kendrick's best album. And a lot of people are like, you're stupid. Like, Good Kid, Mad City and To Pimp a Butterfly are classics. Like, they're way better. I think, like, Damn's better. I think he's just developed more as an artist. And, like, a lot of the songs are, like, have these, like, crazy meanings behind them that like people don't understand off like first listen, and his whole music is like that. But I think people are just so attached to like old stuff that like him naming it Man on the Moon 3 can bring back nostalgia, but it can also like hurt him if it's not executed perfectly, you know. But I don't really know what to say about that, but like I think it definitely, at least with the diehard fans, it'll make them almost like it no matter what.
Yeah, that's the thing. I feel like it's kind of tricking people into liking something before it's even released. Like there's so many times when you hear people fanboying or like standing an album and it comes out in like a week and they're like, oh, this is going to be so-and-so's best album ever. And then it comes out and people for the first couple of weeks are just like obsessed with it. But I just feel like if you give it some time, I'm not saying this is the case with Kid Cudi's album.
It just made you think of that.
But it just made me think that I think sometimes people get tricked into liking something.
Yeah.
And it might just be because of the name.
That definitely makes sense.
But I don't know. With that being said, guys, thank you all so much for listening. Happy holidays to everyone.
Yeah.
I don't know when this is coming out, but it's close to 2021.
Happy almost New Year, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah. So with that being said, we hope we can keep bringing you guys really awesome episodes in 2021. If you guys have any recommendations for artists that you want us to interview this year, let us know.
Yeah.
Hopefully we can get more people in here in person once
this pandemic's over.
This pandemic hopefully ends.
Yeah.
Do you look forward to coming and doing this every week?
Yeah, I do. Like yesterday I was like, I think it'll be fun because we were planning this episode and I wanted to just be more like of a free episode to talk about like what we want. And I was like, I'm looking forward to like, it's cool having a platform to just talk about like music we like.
Yeah.
Like it's a really weird thing if you really think about it, but it's cool.
Yeah. Like it would be really weird if there were no cameras, like no one just goes and sits at a table with their friend and talks for
where
an
we're
hour and
from. Like especially no one, like I don't have a lot of friends that are into hip hop. So it's like when I find anyone that somewhat likes rap, we could like completely different artists. It's like I would always like get into those conversations, but like now that we have like a platform, it's like even though it's just us talking, I feel like we're talking to the people that comment on our Instagram videos when we do these. But
yeah, for sure. It gives us a reason to talk about the music we like. So thank you guys for listening. With that being said, where can they follow you, Matt?
You can follow me on Instagram and Twitter at dmattmog, and you can check out my music on any platform.
And maybe there'll be some new music
Hopefully.
coming soon.
There will be a lot coming soon, like in the next few months, but like maybe soon.
Okay. You guys can follow me at Hey Narwhal on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. There's new episodes every single Monday. And with that being said, see you guys next week.
Peace.